This one's gonna hurt. To tell you the truth, I didn't know if I was gonna cover this game. I vividly remember when I saw promotional material for the first time, because I thought it was a fan thing. But then it dawned on me that, oh no, this is real. This is how it ends. The nuclear option to the backlash that Double Exposure received was used, and the worst possible choice was made. They brought her back. They brought back the evil bastard Spawn, that shit stain of a character that haunts this franchise, and boy am I unhappy that Chloe Price is back. Ignoring how this deliberately demolishes any real player choice from the franchise's continuity, this is a stupid choice that was made entirely to placate the audience that were pissed off that there was a game with Max and no Chloe. And like I always say, we don't negotiate with terrorists. This game, at least from the promotional material, was not only negotiating with terrorists, it was straight up killing civilians. And boy, did it cause me a crisis of faith. I'm sure I'm putting screenshots of the messages on screen now, but to say I was questioning my position as the Life is Strange guy that an overwhelming majority of you know me as would be an understatement. Truly, I didn't know if I was going to cover this game, and as the release date drew closer and closer, I realized that I'd be stupid not to cover that I'm obligated to finish what I've started. And thus, here we are, with all of that prologue out of the way. We're here to do what must be done, and as usual, we're gonna cover the story, the characters, the music, this game's place as a direct sequel, and a plethora of other things that'll come up once I've actually finished playing the game, alongside the old reliables. I can delay the inevitable no longer, so let's do the time warp again and see what this reunion is all about. Okay, so off the bat, we are fucking with tradition because there are no chapters in this game, which really destroys my flow and pacing, and I don't even get to do my quintessential recurring bit with these games. My disappointment is already immeasurable, and out of spite, I'm going to put in 3 chapter breaks so I can actually feel something other than unbridled rage, which means we're not going to break tradition after all if I have anything to say about it. And I do. We start with the start. A bitch in a green room freaking out about her band being late, getting yelled at by some bar manager before we hit the floor and enter some fuck-ass Silent Hill dimension that combines the Blackwell bathroom and the overlook from Double Exposure. Journey up to the actual overlook and see your dead body, then Max with a camera, then Safi on the ground, Max has a gun, and she shoots you. Bada bing, bada boom, you're back in the room. Sorry, I guess I'm afraid. Bitch at the manager, then we're gonna smash cut to Max in a car driving back to school. Drive along the highway, stop at an overlook to take a pic, get some pointless lore that genuinely means nothing, then get a message from Moses that some terrible shit is going down. Get to campus and see that the observatory's on fire. There's chaos everywhere, and there's apparently other campus buildings on fire. Loretta's dead or something, people are burning, buildings are chained shut, and all is wrong. We see Moses die while carrying some chick, then we get exploded and the game ends. Yippee! No, if only we could be so lucky. We do that dumbass ears-ringing trope that we all hate. We then do a photo warp and we're back to the past to stop this fire from happening. We do things to justify this plot occurring by canceling the lore that justifies why we were driving back to campus. Then we head off to find Moses. Here we encounter the new head of Caledon, Owen. And dog, I'm gonna be so real, this dude just isn't important, so I'm gonna gloss over him going forward.
We need to expand. And that's just the beginning.
Bro leaves and we explain the situation to Moses, do some tests, and during the testing we get a line that was thrown in as a clear nod to me and this very channel.
Ugh. Seriously?
I never joke about testing, Max.
And yet you're such a ham. One moment.
And I know this is just a phrase, so I'll let it slide for now, but just know I'm onto you, writers. I know who you know. I know you know that I know that you know that you know that I know that I know that you know that you know that I know you know who I am. This recording is gonna kill me. Anyways, testing goes on. Moses' kettle catches fire, and we have to stop the fire. Blah blah, typical strange game behavior. But then we get a conversation. This conversation is a fascinating thing because it fucking removes the impact of every single choice from double exposure. And I do mean everything. The romance choices, the final choice with Safi, the whole shebang. I don't love to say these kind of things in the story recap, but Jesus Christ, how did any of this seem like a good idea? You're gonna make a direct sequel that ignores the entire game it's a direct sequel to, or everything the entire game it's a direct sequence to did? Are they actually brain dead? God damn, man. Anyway, the conversation concludes and the investigation is now underway. Well, it'll be underway just as soon as we finish teaching our class with a couple of returning characters with Reggie and Loretta, 2 copy-paste NPCs, and Jeanette. You know, Jeanette, who's been here the whole time. Just see all of this footage of her appearing in the last game.
There's nothing.
Thank you, son.
Anyway, the game treats her like she's been here the whole damn time. We demo a photo assignment where we encounter a woman that's Safi in disguise because, oh yeah, she's been here too. Anyway, after we take a picture of this disguise, we then go interact with everybody and glean absolutely nothing of value from any of them. We take a moment to think about Chloe since the anniversary of her death is coming up, but then we notice Reggie talking about our old friend the Abraxas Society and their condemned house. He's fighting the administration about keeping the house alive, and we'll keep this in the back of our heads. Also, I'm gonna bitch about something kind of small here for a minute, but Loretta's consumer-grade shotgun mic would not have a range high enough to get Reggie's entire conversation in full quality. But more importantly, anyone who does any kind of podcasting type shit would know that these recorders, like the ones she's using, are not designed to be Bluetooth compatible, at least like on the best end. So why the fuck does Loretta have her AirPods connected to it? Anyway, end class, talk to Yasmin and tell her that Safi is around because I don't care. Flash forward in time to a fun comedy night at the Turtle. Try to gain info about what's going on with the upcoming fire incident, getting into a bidding war for a very familiar art piece to fans of the series because it's one of Charlotte's sculptures from True Colors. Anyway, the actual plot, we learn inevitably fucking nothing of value from anything that occurs. It's the usual song and dance of using rewind and talking to people, trying to learn about what's going on, yet inevitably getting very little indication of anything actually occurring in the plot. So we leave the bar to head on to our one lead, the old Abraxas house, only to go right back into the bar because Douche Friendulus the Stoned has reached Vermont, which coincidentally is also my favorite Mountain Goats song. Ugh, boy, I'm on it today. Anyway, get into the most minor of altercations with some townie named Ren. Then the security guard comes out of the bar and bans us from entering.
Ugh, what kind of basic bitch fairy tale splooge dream is this place?
Chloe, being Chloe, says fuck all that and enters through the back door, only to encounter the disguised Safi who takes you to the anomalous overlook / lighthouse dimension before you tell her to fuck off. And we cut back to Max. Max is standing outside the allegedly condemned Abraxas house. She finds a way in after being guided by 10 million fireflies, and as we enter into the basement, we cut back to Chloe in the bar because fuck you! Chloe eats and she talks to Amanda, getting some advice and encountering our old friend Lucas Colmenero, all before reminiscing about the old days and then getting accosted by the security guard again. And since we're bringing back all the old useless bullshit with Chloe, we get the return of Backtalk! Now with 75% less bullying. We successfully lie our way into not getting blacklisted, then we launch off into the abyss when we hear that the old Abraxas house is about to go kaboom! And Lucas conveniently mentions that Max is there, so Chloe can go be her hero or whatever. In the basement, the mighty basement, the losers snoop tonight. Max encounters Loretta, talk about why the other is here, and quickly realize that this building is about to bust. So barricade a door, cut some wires, and get the fuck out of Dodge with both investigators still alive and kicking. Loretta goes to yell at the police outside, and as Spanish Sahara kicks into full gear on the soundtrack, a truck pulls up near Max and out emerges Chloe. Max is appropriately confused as to how this dead girl is living, but we've got bigger fish to fry, so go back home and go to sleep. Wake up, question why you gave this cretin your bed and not the couch, then get a flashback with a line that is explicitly thrown in there for me. Chloe saying,
I've been awake since Indianapolis.
I'll admit, I am a sucker for a hometown mention, and I will cheer every time, just like I do when I watch The Substance. But this one has a really fun logistics question, which is to say Chloe would have had to have been driving for about 14 to 15 hours straight to drive all the way from Indy to Vermont. Her wording implies she got up and started driving from Indy, which means she and her fuck-ass, shit-ass truck were going basically non-stop for at least 14 hours. So assuming she left at a normal time, let's say 8 a.m., she'd be getting to Caledon at least 10 p.m. However, this assumes that Chloe doesn't have to stop and eat, get gas, or take a piss. So let's break it down even further and make some assumptions. Assuming Chloe stayed in Indianapolis proper, so downtown, and let's even say that Lakeport is a stand-in for Burlington, Vermont, where the University of Vermont is, she's going at least 866 miles, which is about a 14-hour drive, assuming her start time is anywhere between 7 and 9 a.m. Let's be generous and add about an hour onto our trip time to account for all food, gas, and piss breaks, bringing us up to a 15-hour journey. This would mean Chloe is getting to the Turtle between 10 p.m. and 12 a.m. under optimal conditions, right? I don't know about any of you out there in my audience, but driving for even like 4 hours is exhausting to the average Joe, and given that Chloe is not a trucker, I just don't think she's built for a 15-hour drive, or even capable of waking up before 9 a.m. But whatever, who gives a shit? Make an Indianapolis mention to placate the niche YouTuber that reviews every Life is Strange game, right? So, tangents aside, where were we? Oh yeah. Max and Chloe have been reunited and all that shit. But Chloe is asleep as hell, so Max goes to make some coffee and move Chloe's truck out of the grass as Chloe wakes up and examines all of Max's shit before heading downstairs. The two talk, and to skip past a lot of the fat, we discover that in the Great Merge at the end of the last game, both universes became one, all starting from the branching point of Chloe dying or living. So we actually get to tell this Chloe who lived that actually
He died a decade ago.
So all of her memories are fake as hell, and she takes it about as well as you'd expect. Chloe gets as abusive as always.
This is great. My best friend abandons me, and I have a decade-long hallucination of a friend who didn't.
I'm sorry I didn't call after I moved. But if you remember that week, you know I've apologized for this before.
To who? Some other Chloe in the multiverse of Chloes? She might have forgiven you already, but I wasn't there.
And we're expected to brush past all of this verbal beatdown so we can stop this fire that may or may not be occurring on campus or at the Abraxas house or something. I mean, dude, after the heinous shit Chloe throws at you, she asks you,
Hey, how are you feeling about me being here with all this going on?
and all you can say is you're either anxious or delighted. Whoever wrote this game should be genuinely ashamed of themselves. I have no qualm about saying this. Where's the option to say you're horrified? Where's the realistic option to say that this is fucking terrifying? Because it would be. Imagine this zombie shows up after you watched her die and get buried a decade ago, and all you can say is you're happy to see her? Bullshit. Pure fucking bullshit. Okay. I'm sorry to jump from one tangent to another, but this game has done nothing but piss me off, and if I'm not feeling anger towards it, I'm gonna feel unadulterated sadness, so I'm in a lose-lose situation here. Anyway, these freaks head off to the observatory to drop off Chloe to Moses. Then Max heads off to admin to find Vin and ask him about the old Abraxas house. Vin isn't the same guy he was in the last game, so he's being extremely unhelpful and barely fun. But he does give us some guidance as to where we can look for any sort of info. We go to the library, talk to Loretta, learn about this big Abraxas pagan party bullshit. Mabon party. Learn that Abraxas started as some women's rights org before becoming what it is now. Then use your powers to get Vin out of the office so you can do some proper snooping, only to discover basically fucking nothing of value! Except that whoever was just in the office before you was definitely not the president, because someone broke into the desk. Anyway, time warp your ass out of the office since we're going to track down Safi. In the quad, waste 18 minutes of time trying to track down someone who's at the turtle, then carry on even further to the nonsensical slop fest by heading to Chloe and Moses, who do a little digging into Chloe's place in reality falling apart, which goes even better when Chloe enters that space and is still able to talk to Moses. We conclude that Max being forced to make choices, or her not making a choice to deal with a destroyed campus and a dead Safi, caused some weird-ass rip in the space-time continuum or some shit, and we're nowhere near closer to solving our problems. Cut back to Max at the Turtle. She talks to Safi, and boy, Safi is just going off the deep end with her problems that I just don't care about, and neither do you. Anyway, Chloe shows up, does some slight investigating of her own, gains access to more info about this upcoming protest that might have something to do with the impending arson. Then head out to Max, steal a mask from Safi via rewinding so we can get into the Abraxas party, then escape via a canoe, and I'm gonna cut straight to the point. This scene is officially what broke me the first time I played the game. Anything resembling restraint was out of the picture because this whole conversation is an excuse to get Max and Chloe kissing or holding hands in front of the sunset, and I get it. It's a great set piece. It's a phenomenal set piece. But they've been reunited for less than 24 fucking hours. My choice was to have Chloe as a friend. So you're telling me that after seeing her for the first time in 10 years, you decide it's appropriate to kiss her when she was just your best friend? Like, if you play the game and she was your girlfriend, I would get this being an option. But when you've always told Chloe that we can still be friends, just close your eyes, count to 10, and realize this is how it ends, this comes out of nowhere. Truthfully, for all the character stuff that goes on in this scene, all the dialogue that tries to make this moment feel earned, it falls insanely flat for me. This is a great concept for a scene if this is earned, but I'll be talking about this much more in depth later on. The core point right now is that the writers were not concerned with telling a story, they were concerned with getting to gay as fast as possible at the expense of everything else. Anyway, head back to shore and get ready for a freaky college pagan party. You know how I said the writers weren't concerned with telling a story? That becomes even more apparent at the Mabon party, particularly once you enter the party. Once you're in, steal a mask for Chloe and take a drink of the blood wine to get some pointless info out of Reggie. You give Chloe the mask and switch perspectives to Chloe as she explores the basement. Anyway, if the game isn't spelling out this nonsense for you already, this shit laced! Now, I've largely been ignoring the texts in this game, but I can't ignore this one, because in Max's ball-tripping stupor, she mentions my dearly beloved Warren, who, if this game gives anything to us, it gives us that Warren is an indie film darling. Good job, my boy. I always believed in you. Anyway, Chloe takes a crack at the basement and discovers some old photos hidden in a hidden back room. She goes to find Max only to encounter Reggie and Sophie disguised as Reggie with a sledgehammer. Sledgehammer! We attack Sophie to get a blueprint and uncover the big secret. But first, we gotta cut back to Max just tripping mega balls in a sequence that feels worthless. Then Max goes down to the basement, Chloe begins trying to trip sit Max, then she opens the box that is the big secret, and...
There's nothing.
Thank you, son.
Oh wow, there's a dead body in there. Anyway, we leave, talk to Sophie, take Max to the observatory until she sobers up, and take a look at all of these photos we found. Max is suddenly able to do the kind of memory shit that Alex does to uncover how this corpse became a corpse. He was some nameless townie that showed up to this Abraxas party, started tripping mega balls, and he committed ritual sacrifice so all the other kids with the pumped up kicks cover up the body so they cannot deal with any consequences. But we'll deal with this in the morning. What's this? It's already morning? Fuck. Well, whatever. Next chapter. In Moses' office, we examine everything we've collected. Tell Chloe that she died in a fire, then watch as she storms out pissed as ever, only for her to calm the fuck down and contemplate kissing Max because, again, fuck it. Give the 15 to 28-year-old lesbians everything they could ever want. Regardless, Max is going to admin, Chloe is going back to the turtle, I just want to get executed. Now, back to the bar, Chloe re-encounters her friend Ren and uncovers the truth.
I know about your daddy issues, but just because some deadbeat ran out on you before you were born doesn't give you an excuse to be an asshole.
Don't talk about my dad! Caledon deserves everything that's coming to it and more.
Like what?
You smug, fucking punk bitch. You're all pathetic losers. It's thanks to people like you that my dad is dead today.
Why? What happened? Holy shit. The Abraxas house. You're the one who wrote that graffiti. Your dad—
My dad went to a party and never came home. Caledon has been ducking my family ever since.
Ren, listen to me. I know what happened.
Fuck off.
There's other people you can talk to here, but I don't care. And to be honest, neither do you or the people who wrote this shit. Max goes to admin and talks to Sophie. Sophie's going crazy, but she does tell you that Yasmin was there that fateful night, that Rin's dad died. Then Safi tries to convince you that we can run away together like she's Rachel fucking Amber. And Max goes and shuts her mania down, then enters the office to talk to Yasmin. Talking to Yasmin is kind of a worthless endeavor. All that you really get out of it is that something she made a mistake as a kid, as we all do. I mean, yeah, man, we've all covered up a homicide or two in our youth, so I get where she's coming from. What? She kinda learns nothing from this, we learn nothing from this, and all in all is all we are. Leave admin and make your choice on who you think is about to set Abraxas on fire, and the game outright told me to pick Ven based on all available evidence. I didn't exactly go out of my way to get all the evidence, and I truly think the game telling you who to pick is a very poor gameplay design choice that makes it feel like these writers had so little faith in their players that they just wanted to make you, the player, the asshole for picking someone else. But whatever, bad game choices aside, we cut over to the Turtle, where Chloe and Moses gather up to talk shop, then head off to the observatory. Max runs off to witness the protest. She sees the security guard promptly ejects that towny fuck Ren when he whips out his Molotov at admin. Cut back to OBS, and Chloe sees Max signaling for her to go inside. Then cut to Max talking to Vinyot at the Abraxas house. This confrontation amounts to, hey dipshit, don't set that corpse on fire, cause it's gonna make you go boom. Also get your shit together and don't end up like Yasmin, you stupid bastard. Then you call the cops, tell Vin to get the fuck out of there while he's still got a chance to turn his life around, and this may as well be the last time we see him. Back in OBS, Chloe encounters Safi, and they have a really worthless ass, shit ass therapy sesh that either results in Safi pulling a Cobain or carrying on living, only after she sets the building on fire like an incel chud. Safi is a chud out of 10. Talk Safi out of Cobaining herself, wake the fuck up, then swap over to Max where she goes to save the day. Talk to the unnamed custodian who's a real hero, and go save everyone else inside the observatory as Jod and Jin did. Make sure you give the security guard a respirator so she doesn't die. Tell her fan favorite returning character Jeanette is in there. And this is where I tell you that the security guard's name is Noelle, and contrary to what the song says, she does not ring my bell, nor do I have gym class from hell. Anyway, restore water to the building, break stuff to free some random students, then make your way all the way around to run into the fire to go save Chloe and Moses and Safi. And by save them, I mean get them to the roof. On the roof, get this genuinely brain-dead sequence where you have to keep rewinding time as Chloe gets kaboomed off the roof. I truly wish I could let this rat bastard die right now to set myself free. But I can't, because we can't have nice things. Fucking run down the stairs, save the bitch and everyone else, then after a lot of nonsense showing everyone in town, we're off to the next week or so, or something, I don't know, who fucking cares anymore? I am what is left of a broken man. At the Turtle, there's a party to honor those who did heroic deeds during the Great Fire. We learned that we never got to know that custodian's name, so I'm gonna dub him Fred, since none of this matters. All praise to Fred the custodian. He's a real hero. Talk to people in the bar, get some closure in the heaviest air quotes imaginable with people like Amanda, Reggie, Moses, and fan favorite character Jeanette. Remember, she's been here since Double Exposure, just like everyone else. When you're no longer able to stomach this game, you talk to Chloe and Safi, ignore all of their optional dialogue, and set yourself free into the epilogue. Actually, wait a minute, where was the final choice? These games usually end with a climactic final choice being made, so where is it? Well, perhaps they shouldn't have done an epilogue or a final choice, because in the midst of Max and Chloe going on a tour, Chloe gets a letter from Moses with the selfie Max took at the start of the game, and he puts the ball in Chloe's court on whether or not she informs Max that reality is still fucked. This is just like Before the Storm all over again. I mean, good fucking God. Did these heathens even consider having Chloe make a significant final choice that isn't just tell love interest the truth or not? But whatever, this nightmare is basically over since Chloe gives Max the photo, they head off to face the music, and the credits roll. After skipping an emotional manipulation montage, skipping the credits and examining the results screen, we get an epilogue in photos of Max maybe burning the photo, maybe not. Then you get thrown to the title screen. I don't like to say this, but truthfully, I didn't think you could get an epilogue more genuinely brain dead than Lost Records' iconic 2-minute epilogue that ruins the whole experience. But then again, I expected this to be a good game and not whatever the hell this was. I'm truthfully just apathetic at this point, so I'm gonna have a drink to dull the pain. To be honest, I suggest that those of you in the audience of legal drinking age take a drink with me. Tonight we'll be having my drink of choice, a White Russian. This is a real simple cocktail that most of you would know from the hit movie The Big Lebowski, a movie I love and adore, and one that I have the sweater from. Anyway, to make
Another Caucasian Gary.
all you're gonna need is to get a tumbler glass, put a couple ice cubes in it if you'd like, then get 2 shots of your vodka of choice, 1 shot of Kahlua, or I guess any coffee flavored liquor, and 1 shot of cream or milk. Personally, I suggest 2 shots of cream, which is what I'm having. But of course, you can adjust these numbers as you'd like. Give it a stir if you're making this straight in the glass, or a shake if you're one of those freaks who has a shaker on hand. Then take it easy and enjoy your drink. Please drink responsibly, don't drink to dull the pain, and please continue watching as I dive into the abyss. There are a lot of familiar faces here, some much more welcome than others, and you'd be shocked just how little any of them that aren't Chloe matter. We've got all our favorites to cover and a small selection of new ones, so from the top we've got Moses, Yasmin, Vin, Amanda, Reggie, Loretta, Jeanette, Lucas, Owen, Noel, the custodian, Ren, the dude who led the protest, and probably more that just don't mean anything to anyone. I'm gonna try my best to have unique things to say about every character here without repeating myself, so expect several unique ways of saying the writers lobotomized this character, okay? Cool. To kick us off, we have one of the few characters that isn't the victim of pure character assassination, Moses. Our boy is still the same as he ever was, which is a nice little reprieve compared to everything else going on in this dumpster fire. He's still our science nerd, he's still dedicated to the cause of figuring out our powers, he's still responsible and fun, or whatever the hell I said about him last time. Presumably, he and Tony are still going strong, and I choose to believe just so this game has something resembling continuity in relationships, which is as good of a segue into Vin and Amanda as I can get. Amanda first, because she got through this pretty unscathed, all things considered. She's still in love with Max, she's still the bartender, she's still a comedian and all that fun stuff. Actually, to tell you how inconsequential Amanda is in this game, I entirely skipped mentioning that she does a stand-up routine because of how unimportant to the plot of the game it was. I assume, though, if you had romanced her, things would have fallen apart during the off-screen downtime, just like with Vin, and that's annoying as all hell, but since I didn't pick her and I'm not doing another full fucking playthrough just to see what happens with her choices, it meant we're gonna pivot into Vin. Normally, I like to save the love interests for last, but not this time. Not today. This game did unspeakably brain-dead things to most characters, but poor Vin got the brunt of the ice pick to the brain. What if we took this interesting character that's made some poor, selfish choices in pursuit of improving his life in the vein of a Jackie Brown type character, and just reduced him to doing horrible things because he's been manipulated into being someone else's minion? What if we took all this character's development that largely came from romancing him, and we took him off screen and made it look at the rabbits, George? I feel like I'm going insane, like they just showed Doug Walker a back credit card. But if you're making Oh my god. But if you'll take a minute to remember with me something I said when I talked about double exposure, I said, quote,
I really hope they let you go down the relationship path you started here, because either way you go, I want more from Vin and Amanda, and I'm hoping neither of them get sidestepped next time around. Of course, I'd gladly drop either of them for Warren. Hell, even just a chance at getting my boy back would be fantastic, but I know it'll never happen. Although, it may not be over yet. At the end of the game, when Moses asks if Max would ever go back to Arcadia Bay, she says someday. What this essentially means is, there's still Jope! It's not Jover yet! It's not Jover yet, bitches! Bring him back! We're going all the way to the Super Bowl! Yeah! Oh, hey, sorry. What's happening? I got a little carried away. My apologies.
And ignoring what I said about Warren, I deliberately asked for them to not sidestep the romanceable NPCs, and guess what they fucking did? On top of all that, I took another look at my predictions for what this game should have done, and I actually predicted them bringing back Rewind due to the timeline merge, which is a fun little side note for me to mention here. Back to Vinny though, it is beyond infuriating that this direct sequel to Double Exposure ignores literally everything that game did to tell an extremely pathetic story. And all I really asked for was for this game to let you continue your relationship with the character you romanced, because that's what a direct sequel should do. Allow you to deepen the relationships you've already formed. It's truly not that much to ask for. I mean, the fucking Batman Telltale games got this right with the cat and bat relationship in the second game, so why doesn't this game follow that basic principle? People like these characters. Continue to develop them. It's so simple that you'd think it'd be the top priority. But alas, the top priority for this game was, you guessed it, bringing Chloe back. We'll talk about the issues with the romance scenes in specific later, so don't worry, I'm not done with Vin and Amanda just yet. I just need to pivot to the rest of the freaks meandering about this game. Reggie is here, I guess. I mean, I don't have much to say about him other than he managed to escape the mass lobotomizing event by simply having no brain to damage. He's an anxiety-riddled mess who does nothing of consequence to the story, and hey, at least he stayed consistent. Similarly consistent and inconsequential, Loretta. She's truly here for one scene and one scene only, and that's when you save her for getting blown up
in the house like rocket fuel.
Similarly, there's not much to say about Lucas now since he's become a cynical, divorced podcaster taking advantage of tragedy striking a town to become a champion in their eyes. He's here to be a red herring and that's all. Owen is barely here, yet he's built up like he's gonna be important, but he sure isn't. He's introduced solely to be a red herring, and sure, he does a job at filling that role, but judging by the fact I only mentioned him by name about 3 times now, he was so insignificant that it hurt. Noelle was here, she did things, and I already made the teenage dirtbag joke, so I have even less to say about her. Them's the breaks, I suppose. Now here's a character we have a lot to talk about with, Jeanette. Man, this game really did not know what to do with her. Like, they completely altered her personality, changed her voice actor, and even changed the fundamental aspects of her character. I mean, what the fuck? She's not even a Malkavian anymore. Wait, no. I've been thinking of Jeanette Vorman from Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, a side character who is actually very compelling with a storyline that's truly fun and very well written, in a way that allows for a variety of player choice that shape the gameplay experience wonderfully, and prove why, even 22 years after release, VTM Bloodlines is one of the most fascinating RPGs Steam has to offer. Should you want to play Bloodlines, and I recommend you do, make sure to download the unofficial patch because the game is literally unplayable on modern hardware without it, which is also why I recommend downloading the game from GOG instead, because that has the unofficial patch integrated directly into it, so you don't have to worry about finding where to download the patch from. Anyway, before I get any more off topic, Jeanette in this game is just a random photography student who wants to get a master's in photography, and she just exists to be a random character you can accidentally kill off later. They didn't do anything substantial with her, she didn't really even exist in the last game, and for whatever reason, she's treated like a pivotal character whose death would be significant. I literally know nothing about her outside of the 3 times at most you interact with her. She's barely established, and as such, it's hard to care about her. Speaking of hard to care about, Yasmin. Despite being an established character, she is barely here, barely used, and a total shell of who she was last time. Last time, she played a substantial role in the plot of the game, even if I didn't talk about her character in specific at all. Here, it feels like they took a complicated figure who, while cruel and selfish, did care about her daughter and just made her cartoonishly evil. Like, they really wanted Safi to be completely right about her mother being awful, but also they wanted her to not be evil in the end, so who fucking cares, man? I can't say I care, so let's move on to the one saving grace of this game, my hero, the Custodian. They didn't give him a name. They even commented on him not having a name, and that's no excuse. Give this man a name. He's the best character here by a lot. I mean, just look at him. He does literally nothing, but he brought the vibe up and made me laugh, so he's automatically the GOAT. And since I named him Fred, Fred the Custodian will live on forever, unlike most of these characters. I don't even need to talk about Rin or the protest dude. That's how truly insignificant they are. But I'll say a little bit about Rin. Rin is just the purest embodiment of an evil white guy, just a daddy issues mess like our boy Nathan Prescott. Except unlike him, Rin didn't do a single good thing for the world. At least Nathan executed Chloe and saved humanity for a time, but Rin does nothing of value or substance. Then again, neither does this game. Caledon University is back for the fall semester, and truth be told, campus felt pretty lifeless this time around. You managed to see more of campus, yet it really feels like you're seeing none of it at all. Like, the Abraxas house itself is such a nothing location in this game, and it sucks because of how central to the plot it is. I mean, you can kind of say that about everything on campus this time. Everything else we see is just retracing the same old ground we covered in Double Exposure, but kinda worse. I don't know what it is but the beauty of Caledon in the fall just isn't all that impressive compared to the snowy wonderland we saw in December. I don't know what it is about the setting this time all around, but it just doesn't feel as fun or familiar, in all honesty. This campus no longer feels like this kind of magical East Coast old-ass college campus with a deep history. It feels like a husk of what was once something truly special. Yet, seeing the Abraxas house expands the amount of total locations we've seen. But consider the amount of areas we actually get to see and engage with, and how there's less areas than last time. You don't see inside the arts building this time. You barely spend any time in the Hellerman house. You are rarely in admin. There's a good amount of turtle and obs, sure. And of course, there's about 3 overlook encounters total. Obviously, this game has a very small runtime compared to the last one, so they had to be a bit more economic with their locations. Or they could have given this game another year in the oven and made it a full-length game with a real narrative and actual usage of locations. There isn't anything occurring that really ties it to this location, and y'all know how I feel about using a location to its fullest narrative potential. More frustrating than seeing a location we know go from fully utilized to completely irrelevant is watching said location go from meaningful to insignificant. This game's usage of setting, fittingly with the core plot point about fire, leaves it feeling like the ashes of American flags. Literally useless, yet symbolic of far deeper issues than the object itself would portray. The ashes of Caledon's campus feels symbolic of the severe and rapid narrative decline between Double Exposure and Reunion, yet the literal utilization is completely insignificant. The only problem with that metaphor is that there is an inherent meaning to the ashes of American flags, a politically charged message about the current state of the country, while this game is truly meaningless in execution. There's no political message to be gained from this, no deeper, broad meaning we can read into, no significance to the medium and art of video games or storytelling. So I suppose you can more aptly compare it to the ashes of a cigarette. There's a significance to only the Life is Strange franchise itself, like the ashes of a cigarette only truly being significant to the one who smoked it. Yet even then, these ashes don't matter to them. This game doesn't matter to the people who made it. This is the most anyone is going to talk about this game. I mean, what the fuck, man? Well, there certainly was music in this game, but I only know and care about one song here, so I'll talk about that before getting into what I do to fix the soundtrack, as is tradition in these videos. The one song of any note here is the Return of Spanish Sahara by Foals, because we had to have one musical callback, so at least they made it a good one. No, but in all honesty, I think it was a mildly smart choice to use the track that plays when you chose to kill Chloe, then play when the two reunite a decade later. It was a great song in the original game, and it is still a great song here, I'll admit it. That said, the rest of the soundtrack is nothing, absolutely nothing. It's all forgettable compared to every other game in the franchise, and kinda like what I said about Tell Me Why, you could have replaced every song with Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit and had a much better game. I wouldn't go that far, but I would say if you're bothered to appeal to those characters, or to who those characters used to be by dropping some alt-rock in Max's section and some punk or post-punk in Chloe's sections, you'd have a much better experience that wouldn't be nearly as torturous to go through. So, in terms of actual recommendations, real recommendations, I think there's only one thing that could have truly saved this game, and that's gas station boner pills! I know it's been a while since I've talked about this band, but since I covered them last time, they've released 4 new albums, with each one taking on a distinct style that really highlights some big growth. One of the albums is actually a refined version of songs from the days of GSBP as a garage band. Then they beautifully reconstructed Heresy in the Sex playlist, followed up by an interesting, more alt-country inspired project called The Easiest Goodbye, then the more experimental and sonically varied Songs About Cities, then a return to form album with Grindhouse Party on 42nd Street. Since I have truly nothing better to talk about in regards to the soundtrack of this game, and the next segment is gonna get heavier in terms of content, let's have a fun little interlude where I talk about some GSBP and which songs this game could have used to be better. Also, for the record, there will be a more in-depth video covering each of these albums in full for all 3 of you in the audience who enjoy when I talk about music, so be on the lookout for that one in the future. Heresy in the Sex playlist gives you all sorts of great tracks to pick from, but some particular standout tracks that this game could have used include probably the 5th track on the album, Her Absence, the 6th track, Reasons Long Gone, the 10th track, and the 11th track, Sierra Whiskey Echo. Probably would have been great to hear during the first scene with Max, just because it has this infectiously catchy riff that indicates a positive vibe, but when you listen to the lyrics, there's this impending sense of dread that grows as the song progresses, and altogether it has that perfect feeling to subtly clue the audience in that something malicious is brewing. Reasons Long Gone is, as the name suggests, a very melancholic track that would work beautifully in the scene where Chloe is eating at the turtle, contemplating if this trip was even worth it in the long run, or if this is truly just a waste of time. It has a sound similar to the feeling you'd get while listening to Atmosphere by Joy Division, if you want a good comparison. Anyway, the biggest track to play would be Sierra Whiskey Echo, and playing it in a revamped ending where Max actually makes a definitive choice to do the time warp again and end the merge once and for all would go insanely hard. This beautiful Reservations by Wilco-esque track gives this feeling of remorse and regret while also having these pangs of knowing you've done the right thing, and in an ending that actually carries some weight, it would have been incredibly impactful. It would be like a more matured version of Spanish Sahara, which is really something special considering this is from an album called Heresy and the Sex Playlist by a band called Gas Station Boner Pills. Alrighty, I'm just gonna rapid fire a couple tracks here from the other albums really quick since this tangent is taking more time than I thought it would. From songs about cities, they could have used Suicide in Seattle during the opening with Chloe and the bar manager, just because drugstore makeup. You know, the band Steph the Inconsequential Lesbian was in before True Colors happened, is from Seattle. And that's probably the only songs about cities song that would actually work here. Picking up tracks from The Easiest Goodbye, you could use Unfortunately Yours, Quiet Desperation, and All Roads Lead Back to You. And you could really use any of these tracks during any scene, but in particular, All Roads Lead Back to You during the scene where the alive Chloe reunites with Max at the Abraxas house would kinda go crazy. Then from Grindhouse Party on 42nd Street, honestly, just end the game as it is with Directed by Russ Meyer, just to add insult to injury as the credits roll. I mean, it's a banger track, but oh my god, it would just be a crazy choice. Or you could drop Phoning In and Occupational Obligation, since it's abundantly clear the writers were phoning it in. With that said, we're gonna get into the real meat and potatoes of this script, because the next segment is where we return to the points brought up in the fandoms Max is an object, not a character, and this is unacceptable segments from Be Kinder Rewinder. So consider this an advanced warning for some heavy theme, or for the same heavy themes as last time. Okay, so this is the part of the video where things are gonna get heavy because we're touching on the topic I was hoping to not touch on in this video, bi erasure. A crucial point in Be Kinder Rewinder was the segment where I talked about the way certain fans willfully ignore the fact that Max is a bisexual in favor of saying that she's a lesbian, and thankfully the games have always held true to Max being bi, or at least they used to hold true to this. You know how I said in the opening of this video that this game was negotiating with terrorists? This is largely what I meant. The writers have simply removed a crucial and highly important facet of Max just to justify her going all in on Chloe, which has a really evil compounding effect that hurts any goodwill this game could have had. I know that's a bold statement, so allow me to break it down, Mark. The impact of this game going all in on Chloe hurts not only the character of Max Caulfield, but it also hurts the player's ability to make choices. Starting with the latter point, from a fundamental game design point in a choice-based game with relationships is allowing the player to choose who they want to focus on from at least two options. An easy example would be the Baldur's Gate games, allowing you to pick whichever companion you'd like to romance and having them be, for the most part, regardless of gender. But a more interesting example to a strange type would be the Batman Telltale game. In that game, there is only one romance option, Catwoman. But this is balanced with a platonic relationship with Harvey Dent, as you have to pick one over the other during various points in the game, which puts the choice in the player's hands. If you, the player, are not interested in Catwoman, you can focus on Harvey instead and vice versa. But let's talk about romance, as that is the more crucial point of this segment. The right way to balance romance and player choice would be like in an RPG like Baldur's Gate or Stardew Valley, where almost all of the romanceable NPCs, if not all of them, can be romanced regardless of the player character's gender, just because it gives as much choice as possible to the player. This in turn allows for a deeper engagement with the game, but make no mistake, you don't need a roster of 10 plus romanceable characters with a player-created playable character, so long as you have some degree of option that accounts for the player's choice and the choices of the character themselves. Dispatch and Lost Records Bloom and Rage represent the clearest examples of only having female romance options due to character reasons, while still allowing for player choice in a way that feels satisfying. In Dispatch, Robert Robertson III is a well-defined character who is written in a way that allows the player to see themselves as him, which means if they want to romance Mandy or Invisibitch, they get to pick the one they personally like more. You like a girl who's a real sweetheart and a real hero, then you go for Mandy. If you like a bad girl who's trying real hard to grow as a person, you've got Invisibitch. The same can be said about Lost Records, where Swan is explicitly a lesbian. You've got 3 distinct romance options to pick from, and it allows you to romance the character that you'd romance if you were Swan, right? Like if skaters are more your speed, you can romance Autumn. If it's punks, you can romance Nora. And if you're more into the rebels of the world, you can romance Kat. The point is, you've got options, which leads me directly into the Life is Strange games. Since the beginning, damn near every single Life is Strange game has had a bisexual protagonist, and the practical reason is that, well, it allows the player to insert themselves into the storm, as we've established, but there's also the reasons of characterization and representation. Each love interest in a Life is Strange game is a reflection of the protagonist's tastes, and both love interests tend to contrast each other in ways so that the player can pick the one they're more interested in pursuing. The best example of this contrast is True Colors. Steph is loud, really into music, a D&D dungeon master, and very extroverted, while Ryan is quieter, a state park ranger, a dork, and more introverted by comparison. It shades in Alex's character as a justification for romancing either one is because Alex thinks they're attractive, right? I always choose Ryan because I like Ryan a lot, as any longtime viewer knows and is absolutely sick of me mentioning at this point. But it's Alex's choice in the world of the game to consider romancing him in the first place. Life is Strange 2 presents Sean's bisexuality as characterization in a more literal and kind of problematic way. Romancing Cassidy puts you on the path of being a good person, while romancing Finn puts you down the evil path. These are reflections of the romance options themselves, but more to the point, this gives Sean depth and showing what he's willing to do for love. He'll do anything for love, including that. Meatloaf references aside, this tying of romance options directly into the characterization of Sean through his choices is a great way to add complexity to the character. It is just a little weird that they tied the gay romance option to doing morally wrong things, as it does perpetuate the horribly incorrect idea that being gay is morally wrong and whatever, you get the point. Let's set aside the analytical aspects of this and get to representation. Max Caulfield being explicitly bisexual in the original 2015 Life is Strange was a very, very significant part of the game. And yet that didn't stop people from erasing this fact when making their art, fics, etc. Ignoring the fandom for a moment, Max being bi has always meant a lot to a pretty significant amount of people, myself included, and it was in large part because of how natural it felt. The game never drew any attention to it. You were just able to romance Chloe and Warren because Max is bi. That is the perfect way to do representation in my eyes. You don't make a big deal out of it, it's just a part of who that character is. And maybe you can truly see yourself in that character as a result. And that's so important. People want to see themselves portrayed on screen in a positive and realistic way. And what they really don't want to see is their identity being misrepresented and erased. I spent a large portion of Be Kinder Rewinder talking about the fandom's horrific bi erasure, and I did take some level of solace in the fact that the games had always held true to Max's character and kept her explicitly, or I guess more implicitly, but words are hard, bi. And then this game dropped it. It seems like they listened to the criticism of double exposure from the fans, in heavy air quotes, a little too hard and caved to their every demand, including making Max just a lesbian. I have struggled to find the words to accurately convey my feelings of unbridled anger and disgust at this heinous bi erasure in the game. I was lightly pissed about the fandom's behavior last time. I'm beyond fucking livid right now. The writers erasing Max's identity since they couldn't come up with any other justification to have her get into a relationship with this worthless piece of shit, abusive, blue-haired rat fucker is an act of betrayal that cannot and will not be tolerated. This is the writers looking at everyone who felt represented on screen by Max and telling them they should just blow their fucking brains out. Honestly, I'd rather them have done that than do what they actually did. It's almost like they don't actually care about the majority of people who play these games, and they're only appealing to the loudest, most biphobic pieces of shit in the fandom. If that's how it's gonna be, I'm gonna make damn sure I'm the loudest voice in this space, and not them. So allow me to modify something I said and be kinda rewinder. I previously said that, quote,
I'm not trying to make a political statement, but bi erasure is a serious problem, even in something as ultimately insignificant as a video game.
And I would like to say that I am now going to be making a political statement. Bi erasure is never okay, and this has to end. Taking a character that is a highly important example of bisexual representation and stripping them of that to fit what you think they should be is morally reprehensible. Because everyone has the right to be represented on screen. If you don't feel represented, take matters into your own hands and create the representation you wish to see. Don't deprive others of their representation. You want more lesbian characters? Make more lesbian characters. You want more gay characters? Make more gay characters. But never erase a character's sexuality to fit your own warped personal agenda. Because everyone has the right to exist, or has the right to be represented as much as everyone else does. It may seem insignificant to complain about representation in a video game, but I promise you that it means more than you could ever know to more people than you could think of. If you, dear viewer, take away anything from this video, it should be this. Call out people on their biphobic behavior and say no to bi erasure. Fight for your right to representation, and above all else, don't let anybody ignore and erase your identity. You matter, your identity matters, so go out there and fight for a better world for everyone, god damn it. Stepping off the soapbox and getting back to the game itself, yeah, this game feels like it was catering to the wrong section of audience. Like they listened to what I said last time and took the wrong message from it. So on the off chance anyone at Deck 9 is watching this, I want to ask you a question. Why did you think forcing the player into a relationship with Chloe was a good idea? And to expand on that, how did you land on the decision to essentially erase Max's bisexuality in the process? Don't try to tell me you didn't, because you absolutely did. I just spent the last fucking at least 1,767 words proving how you did, from the game design to characterization to representation. So please give me a straight answer. Please, I'm begging you. I need to know why you did this to your real core audience. So while I wait for a response, I'm going to take a quick break to regain my composure, and then we'll be off to the rest of the video. I'm sorry to get heavy for a pretty lengthy period of time, it's just that I couldn't let this go unaddressed. I promise you this is the heaviest this video is going to get. It'll be fun, lighthearted, and smooth sailing from here on out. In the character recap, you might have noticed two characters missing, those being Safi and Max. Don't worry, I didn't forget them. I was giving them their own segments like I did last time, except this time Safi's got a brand new friend for her segment. We've got Safi and Chloe in an evil double creature feature. It's like a regular creature feature, but with two creatures. Anyway, these two occupy a very similar role in the game, and I hate both of them for very different yet similar reasons. To begin, I've got to hit y'all with a previously on, just to remind everyone of what I said about Safi last time, so we can see what she got up to this time and how it compares.
I miss you.
Previously, on the segment Old Habits Die Hard, I said that Safi is a Chloe-type character, even down to her off-screen relationship with Maya being the same as Chloe and Rachel. I also said Safi is also a selfish little chud who pretty unjustly lashes out at everyone in the aftermath of her friend's death to the highest extremes imaginable. Consequences be damned. And just like Chloe, we, the audience, are supposed to be invested in her, even if we aren't. I ended this segment by saying she had more potential than Chloe ever did, even if her going all Charles Xavier assembling a team of X-Men with powers like her was a bit stupid. And I was curious to see where they took her character in the sequel. Where did they take that character to in the sequel, you may ask? Absolutely fucking nowhere. They truly just jammed her into this game without any real consideration of what she should be doing outside of becoming a revenge-obsessed loser who just wishes that
Max Caulfield
love me more than anyone in the entire world.
I mean, the few times she's really in this game, she's either trying to expose her mama as evil, or she's trying to get you and her to run away together. You have a conversation with her when you find her at the Turtle as Max, and you find out that she basically did nothing when she went on her whole find people like us mission, because she's a sad, pathetic failure of a person. It's even more insane that she lit the observatory on fire and faced no consequences for it, while also magically repairing her relationship with Yasmin with one "you met me at a very strange time in my life" hand-holding moment. I mean, what the fuck were they doing? Truly, they just took Safi and removed her brain, punted that bitch into the stratosphere, and never looked back, yet they kept her around for whatever reason. I know I kept her alive in the story recap, but when I played the game blindly for the first time, I might have pulled a low-tier god because I was in a bad mood, alright? Anyway, the point is, Safi just blows her shiz move off and nobody cared, nobody remembered. It just felt so completely and utterly pointless, only here to pad the runtime and have any resemblance of a connection to double exposure. Truthfully, that's all Safi is in this game. A total wretch that no one cares about in the slightest, but worse than that is that she's playing second fiddle in her own narrative. Like, how do you go from major antagonist to loser side character? I'll tell you how that shit happened. It's all because they had to bring her back. Bringing back Chloe was the first and only priority of the writers at the cost of everything else. Before I let rage and hate consume my soul, I'll say one thing that's gonna sound mildly positive, and it's that they managed to make Chloe still feel like Chloe. Yeah, she barely changed as a character outside of a voice actor and a vocabulary change, and even then, this is the 4th or 5th actor to portray the character now. May as well call Chloe the bitch of Theseus at this point. Anyways, jokes aside, Chloe is the same as she ever was in all the worst ways. Take the first real scene with her and Max in the Hellerman house, for example. Chloe just hurls abuse at you damn near the whole time, and it ain't even funny. I mean, holy fuck, man. It's just astonishing how manipulative every interaction between these two comes off. And it's annoying that I can't tell Chloe that I hope she dies. Hell, I hope we both die at this point. Chloe chews you out for doing the right thing and letting her die all those years ago, bitching about how all her memories are fake and how this is all your fault. Then immediately she has the gall to ask you how you're feeling. This is why I was so pissy in the story recap about not being able to say horrified about her being back. This is not a love story. This is the story of your abuser coming back from the dead and fucking your whole life up again for a week, except this time you don't get the happy ending of them dying again. Instead, you go on the road together for an ambiguous ending on whether or not you do the time warp again. It's the dumbest shit you've ever seen over one of the worst people you could ever meet. Now, you may be wondering why I lumped Chloe and Safi into one section, and it's because they are truly two sides of the same fucked up coin. Weirdly, they both occupy the same space, but not for the reason the game states. The game states it's because of Max's timeline fuckery from the last game, but really it's because Safi devolved hardcore style into the blend of Chloe and Rachel. Take the kind of manic behavior that Rachel exhibits in Before the Storm, and throw in the insanity of Chloe, and you're on the right track for making this game Safi, especially in relation to her relationship with Max. I mean, for real, Safi nearly hits that beat-for-beat Rachel Amber let's run away together scene when you encounter her before talking to Yasmin in the office, and it's stupid. Of course, we still see the remnants of Chloe and Safi, as she's just as evil, manipulative, and abusive as her master, yet I actually feel bad for her now. I mean, they did just wholesale rip off the Kate sequence from the original game where you have to talk her out of suicide, so throw Kate into the blend of characters that became Safi in this game. I'm willing to chalk all this up to an accidental series of events, though, just for the sake of argument, so let's examine what they did intentionally try to do. They tried to say Chloe and Safi are tied together because of the merge, as it was Max's decision to kill or not kill each of them that caused this distorted nightmare we now live in. But outside of that, what do we get? Two life-ruining, self-sabotaging losers obsessed with the same girl in a story that only cares about one of them. The other should just die already, I guess. I mean, no one would even miss her punk ass, would they? They did it. They really did it. They not only brought back Chloe, they even managed to absolutely lobotomize Max Caulfield in the process. The protagonist of this game is not Max, in the same way that is not Solid Snake. This is where this game really hurt me, because in the beginning this felt like Max should, a much more confident artist who is on the verge of even greater artistic success, with some solid relationships, a steady career, and a place to truly call home. Then she gets involved in a mystery that always seems to follow her, only for her to reunite with Chloe and have everything become meaningless. It's crazy that she sees this blue-haired devil and immediately all agency gets ripped from her. I know I made the joke already, but it really does feel like that movie Obsession. Like Chloe got her hands on a One-Wish Willow and wished that she and Max would be in a romantic relationship forever. And just like that movie, this cursed wish results in an obsessed entity occupying the same body as the girl she actually liked. Now, if I may take a moment to talk about my thoughts on Obsession, it's fine. I feel the same way about it as I do Midsommar, which is to say it's a fine movie on a technical level, it's just severely overhyped. I'm glad it's doing well. We love to see young creatives succeed in an industry as awful and unforgiving as film, but I kinda wish it was a different movie that did this well. While we're on the subject of 2026 movies, I haven't had the opportunity to see Iron Lung yet, or Nirvana the band, the show, the movie, which pisses me off because I really wanted to see both of those in theaters, but unfortunately being in Africa at the time of release meant I wasn't going to get to see them, which sucks. However, I did get to see Project Hail Mary, and oh my fucking god, that movie is beyond incredible. It's so rare to see a modern movie that's not only this well made with practical puppets and perfect casting, it's even got the most beautiful color grading you've ever seen. The use of color in this movie was beyond incredible. Like, it's just so gorgeous in a way that you just have to see to believe. I'm normally a bit cynical about new releases and whether or not I see them in theater or wait until they're on streaming or whatever, but seeing Project Hail Mary in theater was such a fantastic experience that I cannot recommend enough if you have the chance. Even now, please, you need to see this movie on as big a screen as possible. I promise you won't regret it. But that's enough movie tangents. I can't have nice things. If you remember last time, I talked about how amazing it was that they were able to make Max feel like the same character she was 10 years ago, down to the performance and writing. But I also said, direct quote,
I was deeply afraid of everything possibly going wrong, and everything from bringing Chloe back and overshadowing Max, to them just completely assassinating the character, to the game just being a complete disaster as a whole.
It would appear that the joke is on me. I said all of this about Double Exposure before it came out, and how shocked was I that the immediate follow-up was all of my fears compressed into one evil and abysmal game. We brought back Chloe, she overshadowed Max, they assassinated her character, and the game sucked. Just every wrong choice that could have been made was made. I truly wonder how this game even got made in the first place. This game's Max isn't Max. This is the Wish Nikki version of Max. All of the charm of her mannerism and quirks are gone, fully bulldozed over for nothing. I wish that I even had anything else to bitch about with her, but the problem is that there just isn't anything left of her to criticize. It's just so tragic. I truly don't know how to explain how devastating this loss is for me. I watched my hero, my goat, my queen, and the first time I ever truly felt represented on screen, get turned into a side character in her own narrative. It is truly the biggest fall off in gaming history. And I can't, man. I just can't. This truly and genuinely sucks more than anything that has ever sucked before. Rest in peace, Max Caulfield. You didn't deserve this. It says here that I'm supposed to provide updates to the running list of things like the KTG tier list, along with making other criticisms that don't otherwise fit into a category we've covered. And to be honest, the updates to this list are going to go by fast, and the criticism is going to be one weird rant about how these writers know who I am. So to start us off, all the KTGs, put them in last place. Fuck you, I don't care, these don't even deserve a proper discussion. No, but in all honesty, the second KTG may as well not even be real, so I'm going to ignore it because if I do, it can't hurt me. The first KTG, the boat scene, is a good set piece in concept. It really is, but you have to earn that moment. And for this game to have earned this moment, it would have been much better suited to a moment with, say, Vin or Amanda, or, you know, a character we've actively established our romantic relationship with in the last game. I love the idea of this moment, I really do, but they executed it in a way that makes you want to end it all. If you like this scene, I get why you would. I just wish for your sake that you had better taste in women. But for me, this felt like an insult, so I'm putting it in the last possible place on the tier list, meaning the rest of it is gonna look all the same, so that list just looks like this. 10, Chloe Modern, 9, Chloe Classic, 8, Finn, 7, Steph, 6, Rachel, 5, Amanda, 4, Vin, 3, Warren, 2, Cassidy, 1, Ryan. And all the previous reasons still stand. Want to hear those reasons in full? Go watch Be Kind to Rewinder. It's still one of my favorite videos I've ever made. Now, for the real interesting point in this game, these writers know who I am. I mentioned the most obvious reference to me being when Max calls Moses a ham. I even made the clear joke.
Seriously?
I never joke about testing, Max.
And yet you're such a ham. One moment.
The joke was obvious and built for me, but I get that that is technically just a common phrase, so I'd let it slide if it weren't for the more compounding things than that. I mentioned the Indianapolis mention that Chloe makes, and I've been pretty blunt about my hometown being the cornfields of Indy in several videos. So combine this with the ham line, and you're starting to see why I'm thinking there were bits in here for me. Hell, the Warren mention is there for me and me alone. I mean, who the fuck else cares about this character anymore besides me? Truly, I have to be among the top 3 Warren fans, and I'd better be considering there's only 3 of us left. But the biggest piece of evidence I have is that Max says what I said the message of the first game was damn near word for word. Like, it's uncanny. I remember I saw this line come up for the first time, and I about had a stroke because those were my words being said by the character in the game. In Be Kind Rewind, the very first video in this series, I directly said,
The point is, Max's arc is one of a hero realizing they can't save everyone, and that they, at the end of the day, are still just a human.
And now, what does Max say?
I tried so hard to save her. And the one thing I learned is that you can't save everyone.
Yes, I realize this isn't exactly one-to-one what I said, but the core of the statement is that you can't save everyone. It's basically what I said. I mean, yeah, I know this is just an accurate assessment of what the first game is about, but the writers could have said any other number of messages other than the one that I said and still been correct. This feels like it was put in there specifically because of me, especially since I clocked that shit instantly as what I said. I'm not mad, nor am I gonna say it's plagiarism, but dude, you can't tell me that this isn't there because of me. These games' writers know who I am. I'm convinced. If anyone at Deck 9 who wrote this game is for some reason still listening, I just want you to know I'm not mad at you personally. I have said some very mean things, and I'm somewhat sorry for how emotionally charged my statements have been. If you'd like to give me any sort of way to contact you, I'd love to do an interview with one of you just to pick your brains on what the production of this game was like. If this was always the plan for the Double Exposure sequel, if the references to me were intentional, all that fun stuff. I ask this with no malice in my heart, only a sincere curiosity to understand this game better. I want you guys to succeed. I really do. I love this franchise, and I loved what you guys did with Double Exposure and True Colors. So I just want to know more about how Reunion came into being. Who knows, maybe this could be the start of a very fruitful partnership for the both of us. Anyway, please give me some way to reach out to you. I'd be extremely grateful for the opportunity. Please. I'm going to say this, and I mean it with a full, unbridled sincerity, that it's time to retire the characters of Max and Chloe forever. If this game demonstrated anything, it is that no writer should be allowed to utilize these two again, because they clearly don't know how to use them in a way that doesn't just totally fucking lobotomize Max. I'm tired, boss. I really am. It's just that there's nothing else any writer, myself included, could do to salvage these two without outright declaring that this game is not canon and should be ignored. The problem is, this game exists, and I wish it didn't. But more to the point, we gotta stop them from ever bringing back Max and Chloe. While I don't have any qualms about saying we should retire Chloe, since she truly has no more ground to go, no more narratives to ruin, no more characters to assassinate, I do feel awful about saying we have to retire Max. She doesn't deserve such a cruel fate, but if I have to sacrifice a hero to save this franchise, I'm gonna make the hard choice of letting her die. See, this is a choice I really had to think about, unlike letting Chloe die to save the town, because I'm actually invested in this character. But bits aside, I do truly think there's nothing else these characters can do. No more ground they can cover, no more adventures or mysteries. Hell, I'd even go as far to say it's time to retire even mentioning Arcadia Bay, and mentioning any character from the original game outside of optional cosmetics for protagonists in the future. The only, and I mean only, exceptions I'm willing to make are for bringing back Kate or Warren, or even both of them. Hell, make it canon that those two got together after the events of the first game, and they get to live happily ever after. Anything with them being happy and closing off the first game forever. I do love the original Life is Strange to death. I really do. But it's so clear that the people don't know what to do with it. So just cut it off and move on with your life. This game is a memento mori, a reminder that all things pass into the night, a reminder that everything dies, baby, that's a fact. See, this is the part where you'd expect me to finish the song reference with maybe everything that dies someday comes back, put your makeup on, fix your hair up pretty, and meet me tonight in Atlantic City. But no, I don't believe it this time. There is no comeback for these two. They should have died hand in unlovable hand during the Great Caledon Fire, since that's what these writers wanted to happen. But let's take a step back and consider why we got here. How did things get so bad that I, a lifelong Life is Strange fan, feel this frustrated with the series? Well, it all stems back to Double Exposure and the feedback that the die-hard dipshit fans had. While some criticism was valid, like the deluxe edition cat content being required to get every achievement, a lot of their criticism boiled down to Chloe not being there, and this must have hurt sales enough that they had to pull the nuclear option. I don't have much evidence to back up this next statement, but I am fully convinced that there was a different script in production before the one we got. With how short and rushed this game feels, I have to believe that this was made directly in response to the pissed off minority of fans that hated Double Exposure. This was the nuclear option to recover the franchise in the eyes of the public, especially with the TV adaptation looming on the horizon. As a result of Chloe being the nuclear option, nobody knew what to do, so they just slapped some shit together that barely provides a reason for her to be back, and ignored anything they could from Double Exposure, to the point where that game now feels pointless to go back to, since anything left unresolved is just going to stay unresolved forever. I can't really provide substantial evidence to back this up, so take this all with a grain of salt, but I cannot in good conscience believe that this is the team that made True Colors and Double Exposure. There's no way that team would or could make something this truly abysmal, and I pray that whatever the next installment in this franchise is, I pray that it's a full-length 5-episode game that gets a few years to actually cook to perfection before it gets dumped on the public. I can't end on that negative of a note, so I'm gonna do something I did last time and throw out some things I'd like to see in the next Life is Strange game, and maybe, just maybe, someone out there is listening and taking some notes on what they're going to do for the next game. So, outside of being a completely new story with original characters that don't have to tie back into the pre-existing world of Life is Strange, my biggest request is to have the next protagonist be a male. There hasn't been a playable dude since Life is Strange 2, and that game has a totally different vibe from the others as a result, a vibe that I kinda miss. I know the majority of the target demo prefer the ladies, but a shocking amount of them think Life is Strange 2 is the best game in the series, so maybe it's time to tap into the potential of a male protagonist again. You don't have to change the core tenets of being a Strange type. He can still be as bisexual as ever, and you can still throw him through the emotional ringer, just like Sean. That said, unlike Life is Strange 2, don't give the new guy a shitty younger brother. I don't think there's anyone that actually likes the little shit Danny boy. More than that, though, give this dude powers. The lamest part about Sean is that he is just a guy, and that his stupid dipshit brother gets all the powers. Give this dude something that'll really shake up the formula. Like, I don't know, the power of flight? That do anything for you? That's that's levitation, Holmes. I can't channel Jack Black that strongly, I'm sorry. References aside, I think giving the protagonist a new set of powers would be fun. If Double Exposure and Reunion didn't just have someone with shapeshifting, that would have been a fun one to have the player be a playable power. Imagine you're doing the stereotypical usual strange type mystery solving, but you're able to shapeshift into other people to get more information from others to figure out what happened, sneak into areas you otherwise wouldn't be able to get into. The sky is the limit, really. The point is, I want a weird new mechanic that distinguishes this hypothetical game from its predecessors in a fascinating way. Like flying. That's a joke. Moving away from the main guy, I think shaking up the location would be nice, especially for what it lets you do. We've done the West Coast a ton, we've done the East Coast twice now, we did Western America in Life is Strange 2 and True Colors, and Lost Records did the Midwest quite poorly, I might add. That game really could have been in old fuck-ass Nebraska, and nothing would have changed. That's a hill I'll die on. So perhaps it's time to venture outside of America, just like Silent Hill has been doing recently. At the time of writing this, I'll have just spent 3 months living in Cape Town, South Africa, and I would be lying if I said this wouldn't be a fascinating setting for a Strange type game, just given how much variety there is in the country, from cities to mountains, from townships to beaches. There's a lot of room in where you can have this story set, and more importantly, what stories you can tell in the setting. Of course, you could do a game set anywhere in the world. Australia is an easy choice, as are England, Scotland, Ireland, all the Linds, and Canada. But wherever you go, wherever they land, I just want it to properly utilize the setting and incorporate it into the narrative and world. One of my biggest gripes with Lost Records is how it barely utilizes any quirks of the Midwest. Like, no one using "ope" as an exclamation is criminal. So incorporating actually relevant local flavor into this next game would go a long way. Give me a character eating some obscure-ass regional food. Like, if you did a Strange type game set in Indiana, have someone eat a beef Manhattan. For those of you who aren't aware of the glorious beef Manhattan, it's a hot roast beef sandwich, cut in half, served with mashed potatoes in between the halves, and covered in gravy. You do have to eat it with a fork and a knife, and it's incredibly filling, but man, is it such a wonderful thing when well done. Or done well. Anyway, the point of that tangent is that using real references to the region your game takes place in goes a long way in making your world more believable and charming. You know what? Just give me a proper Midwestern Life is Strange game. Do what Lost Records dropped the ball on doing and do the Lord's work. Now, for the ever-important Glazed Ham classic, soundtrack. This does tie into region, as having a more regional sound is fun, but of course do what fits the character and story tone. If you want to know what kind of soundtrack I'm going to recommend, I'm just going to point you towards a game that I think did soundtrack right. The soundtrack to the very bafflingly controversial game Mixtape is a great indication for what you could do musically to appeal to a freak like me. The way the game ends with Atmosphere by Joy Division rolling into Plain Song by The Cure was made explicitly for me, alongside the use of Smashing Pumpkins, Susie and the Banshees, and all that good stuff. That is a very well-curated soundtrack that was perfect for someone like me. So what can we learn for this next Strange game? Use The Cure, for the love of God, please, just give me one Cure song, I'm begging you, please! But bits aside, I think that giving this protagonist a specific vibe that isn't just indie rock, like goth or alternative, and making the soundtrack match that vibe is the best thing that could happen. More than that though, it just make the music more memorable and significant. I truly couldn't tell you a single song that hasn't appeared in the series before that played in this, or that hasn't appeared in the series before that played in this game, which is tragic. Past music, can we get our theoretical male protagonist to be bisexual as God intended with a distinct, well-written male and female love interest? Make them contrast each other in unique ways, give them clear aesthetics that give some insight into our main character, and make it hard to pick between them because they're both equally interesting. I know it's a lot to ask for another guy like Ryan or Warren, but this game made me realize how much a good pair of love interests is key to getting something special in this franchise. If both male and female love interests are good, we can get something beautiful where the player base is actually split on who they prefer more, thus leading to a more 50-50 split that's good for the game and player base, since they'd be more inclined to replay the game to see both romance options as storylines. I can't say I've got any particular plot lines for you to consider, although I've got some ideas for themes you should go for. The first and most obvious choice is to me, is for you to go back to your roots and make this a coming-of-age kind of story, since that is what this series does best. I could also see the themes of self-discovery and self-acceptance being worth exploring, along with the themes of overcoming the despair and agony that seems to permeate the day-to-day of modern life. Just a kind of story that makes you feel good and hopeful. It's ironic for me, a notorious sad bastard, to say that I want a happy game about hope and all that. But that's a large part of why True Colors was so good. It has hope. Reunion has no hope. All it has is doom and gloom and hell itself. Also, if I may, can we go one game without someone getting murdered as a central inciting incident? Just one is all I ask. I want something that's either more down to earth or something that's more explicitly supernatural and kind of spooky. The best part about Lost Records was that it got that magical mystery element to it, while the core of the game is very down-to-earth tragedy in the form of Kat's cancer. All that said, those are just some suggestions I've got for you right now. Please feel free to take any of those. I'm giving them to you for free, and I expect nothing in return other than a good game, unless you want to give me a job, in which case please contact me. I'm happy to help. Anyway, I'm getting the feeling that we're pretty close to done here, and that it's time to wrap this up. So, that was a lot, especially for a game I didn't think I was going to cover. I'm glad I did cover it though, not because the game was good. Make no mistake, this was miserable, and the more time I've spent with it, the more agonizing clear it became that this game sucks. But because I got some phenomenal analysis out of it, some of my best prose yet, and what should all around have been a great video that I hope you enjoyed. In terms of ratings for this game, I've got a funny little story to tell. Consider it one last tangent, if you'd like. When I finished this game for the first time, I thought I was going to give this a 5 out of 10 because of reasons that no longer matter. Because as soon as I replayed it, I realized this was worse than Life is Strange 2. So that meant a score lower than a 4 out of 10. Then I spent more time going over my gameplay to write this, and the more I've thought about it, the more I realized that this is truly worse than Before the Storm. Before the Storm was awful because it's so incompetent, yet it is sincerely made. Reunion is awful because it's not only incompetent, it's actively malicious. Everything that this game did was an intentional choice that felt purposefully designed to be evil, poorly constructed, which is why I'd like to give this game a very deserved refusal of rating because there aren't numbers small enough to describe how insidious this game is. With that said, I'm gonna go to bed now as it's currently 3:22 a.m. at time of writing, so thank you all for watching, it truly means a lot. If you're watching this and you worked on the game, I'd like to thank you all for nothing. Actually, hang on, I gotta warn you, this is a singing bit, this may kill me. So, we're gonna go for it. If you're watching this and you worked on this game, I'd like to thank you all for nothing. I'd like to thank you all for nothing! 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 Nothing at all! Thank you so much for watching the finale of the Be Kind Rewind trilogy, and for all the love and support this channel has gotten in recent time. It means the world to me, it really does. I'm sorry this video took so long to come out in comparison to the last one. It's just, this game took so much out of me. I really had a hard time finding the motivation to cover this, to finish writing the script, to even start editing and finish recording the audio. It was kind of a nightmare, honestly. But I'm glad it's done, at least recording wise, and by the time you're seeing this, obviously the video's done. I'm hoping I can have this done before June ends. I gotta make that Pride Month deadline. So hopefully this comes out before the end of June. Or maybe it won't. Editor, put on screen the day that this is going to release. Thank you. All right. That said, it's time to end this. Thanks again, and good night.